Philip asked me to actually introduce Winona. That's me. She's probably tired of me because we were at ASU. And one of the things I told her was my name, and I don't even realize it anymore. I told her that my name was Napoleon, and she kind of looked at it. Oh, my grandfather's name is Napoleon. And when I first got exposed to Winona, she said something that kind of stuck with me. It was that you wake up Indian and you go to sleep Indian. And so that's something that always stuck with me when Winona said that you wake up Indian and you go to sleep Indian. These struggles continue wherever you are. You look in the mirror and you see yourself, and you remember when you step out into the world who you are, and you know that there's going to be somebody always behind you watching you, and you have to be very vigilant of that. You have to be very open. You have to be very strong. Environmental justice activists, and for Indigenous people, really that means defending the sacred. You can call it whatever it is, but every patch of this so-called United States, there's been some territory that's been invaded, and it's over some sacred land. And you might not notice it, but people will tell you, elders will tell you the importance of where you're at. Thank you. Mascot and
How are y'all? Which I was really honored to come out, and I just love these women, listening to them. I was sitting over there, I'm just really grateful. Really grateful to everyone who's here and the opportunity to be here. And my nephew Napoleon here. I came to you kind of in a roundabout way. I've been on a little bit of a road trip, which kind of happens to me sometimes. And, so I was out east. I went to Pennsylvania, and I went to speak at a college here earlier this week. And I didn't know it was in the same town as Carlisle, which is the boarding school, right? And so I went to see Carlisle. And I went in there and I went to look in there. How many people in here have relatives who was at Carlisle? And I went in there and I'd never been there, but I thought I'm going to go in there. Because I can. And I was a really lucky day that a historian was there. And there's 10,000 Native students that went to that boarding school. 10,000. About 750 of them graduated. 10,000, they were swept away as young children, 6 or 7 years old, by Colonel Pratt, and taken there to this military base. And the first 48 of them were Apache children. They were drawn to those kids, the children of those people. And they took those people, they took those kids, they were prisoners of war. Prisoners of war, and they took them there to that place. And it was a sad thing, And then they took some Dakota children from Rosebud and from Pine Ridge, Spotted Tail, and Red Clouds too. They took them there. And they took my grandfather and my great uncle Napoleon too. And that's when I see this young man, I said, that's like seeing that guy again. And 2 of their brothers, they all went there. And I was thinking how scared those children must have been. Go that far away from their home, ride in the middle of the night, get off a train and go into the edge of a military base, a place they'd never seen. And it was really moving to me to see that, to be there, And I got to go in there, and I got to read my grandpa's school record. And he was in the Invincible Debating Society. Just thought that was funny. I always thought I got the gift of gab from my mother. But, I just want to say that I did that before I came here, and I thought about the community. And I went to the cemetery. And something in the cemetery was really moving is that every native grave there had a little felt horse that someone had made in a little tobacco pouch. So I want to say that your ancestors and your relatives' graves are in good order. I tended to some of our graves. There were some more Jubilee graves there. And I looked around, and some of the little horses, they were gone. They had like moved around, so I straightened the herd out. I had the herd out to the right people because there was a big snowstorm, so they were kind of dispersing around. So then I'll sort it out. I want to say that because we don't forget those things, actually. There's an intergenerational memory in our communities that remember that happened. And I was glad to be able to go back there to tend to things. And I was also really glad to be able to go there and see that other people were tending to things too. That those graves were well taken care of. Our ancestors and our relatives were there. And so I just want to say that that's a little bit of where I came from to be here. And sometimes you go on these road trips, and there's a couple lessons I learned out of that, aside from the fact that I was really taken with that whole experience. And one of the things I learned is that the idea of taking those children and calling them prisoners of war and then putting them in incarceration reminds me exactly of what they're trying to do now to a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of children. They're trying to deny them basic services. They're putting them in incarceration camps, and they're making prisoners out of these children that come from this area. Come from this land here. Children that should not happen to. And so I think about that wall that man wants to make and what it means for all those children. And how we shouldn't do that to people again. We shouldn't make them prisoners of war. Children should not be criminals. That's what I feel like. And also, I thought about that, and I thought about how I was coming down here to see y'all. So I think about the privilege of my life. I'm a pretty privileged person. I've lived a good life, and I'm really glad to see all these young women doing this good work. And I'm looking for my retirement plan. Thank you all for your good work here, but I was thinking about when I was a young woman one time, and I was listening to what you were all saying about being at Standing Rock, because I was at Standing Rock too, and it was nice, I'm really proud of us when we were up there. I'm proud of the 10,000, 15,000 people who were at Standing Rock, and how that changed us. And it was really a somber moment in this country. It's a somber moment. And all of us that we went there, it changed us all. It changed America, it changed this moment. But I remember a long time ago, I was a privileged young woman. I got to sit with two great Oglala chiefs. I was about 18 years of age, and I got to be with Frank Fools Crow and Matthew King, two of the great Oglala chiefs. And I was a really young woman, and I got to sit with them, and I don't know how I was so lucky as to sit with those two men and we talked. But I remember this one thing that Matthew King said one time. That's what he said is the only thing sadder than an Indian who isn't free. The only thing sadder than an Indian who isn't free is an Indian who doesn't remember what it's like to be free. And I thought about that, and I thought about how Standing Rock reminded us what it was like to be free. And so I'm at this point in my life where I'm asking the same questions a lot of you are asking. What's it going to be like 50 years from now in our communities? Where's our water going to come from? How will our animals live? What will we think? What language will we speak? How will we pray? How will we treat each other? Where will our food come from? How will we live? What will give us joy? Those are the questions that we need to ask. We need to ask how this life is going to be for our generations who have not yet arrived. And we need to make decisions and do things to think about them. This is our time to do that. And so I think about where we are now at this moment in time. And I know the same things that you all do because we're all pretty, we're thinking. We're thinking bunching, and not everybody's thinking, but we didn't open the Kool-Aid, I can tell that. We're thinking a little bit here. You know, and I look out there and I think of who the great plants are, you know. I like this piece of art here. This is my niece here. My niece Kim Smith. She's a Ghanaian woman. And she calls me her auntie. And she's also a board member of our organization, Honor the Earth. And she put together this art show called The Art of Indigenous Resistance. And that's a piece by an artist named Botan. And that's a picture you're looking at. There was this moment when I was out there, we was in Vermont for the open head show, and she was wearing her black dress, and I was wearing my black dress. And I said, here we are, it's cool. But what I want to say is, look, I think there's two different ways in our teachings. There's a time of the seventh fire, that's what this is called. A time when we have a choice as a Anishinaabe people. The prophet has told us that this time we would have a choice between two paths. And one path, they said, would be well-worn but scorched. And the other path would not be well-worn, and it would be green. And it would be our choice as Anishinaabe people to determine which path we would go upon. That's what those prophets told us a really long time ago, that we would have a choice between those two paths. They said that would be us as Anishinaabe people. And I'm pretty sure that is where we all are. Not just Anishinaabe people. Got a choice between one really well-worn and scorched path that they have been on this predator economy for the past 150 years. And a path that is not that path. A path that is in keeping with the laws of the Creator. A path that is in keeping with our teachings. A path where we make peace with the earth and we restore things. We restore a covenant that we have with the Creator. Those are those two paths, and we must move. We must move. That's our time, that's our moment. I look out there and that guy they got in DC now. You know, he's not a very smart thinker. And he says he wants to make America great. That's what he says. Want to show that next slide? That's where I live. That's where it's great. Up on the lake in the woods, go on to my reservation. This is a little art of who we are. And I like showing that art because a lot of times they say that when I was a student, if you want to study the art from Europe, you went to the fine arts department. If you wanted to study the art from indigenous communities, you went to anthropology. That's what it was like at Harvard University, but that's what it's like everywhere. There's some idea that the valuation of what we know and how we think and how we live is not as good as stuff that comes from Europe and stuff that comes from science and technology. And what I'm going to suggest is that it's quite possible that the paradigm that got us into this is not going to get us out. It is not going to happen. And I feel like it is time for a plan that I would call the Sitting Bull plan. It's a little more enlightened than the Trump plan. And it talks about when America was great again. So I'm going to talk about that. When I go through a couple here in my pal. This is when America was great, when there was 8,000 varieties of corn. That's when America was great. Tremendous agro-biodiversity, and we fed our people, and our food was not poisoned. It was not covered with things called side. That's when America was great. And none of that was made by Monsanto. That was the hands of Native people. A lot of that was Indigenous women, because Indigenous women are really good wherever they are in the world at figuring out which seeds to keep. Because they know how to cook it, they know how long it lasts, the field, they know how it tastes. Those are pretty good indicators of where you want to keep a plant. You know? Things. So that's what America was great, 8,000 varieties of corn. America was great when there's 250 species of grass in the northern plains. Tremendous biodiversity, that's when America was great. And when there was 50 million buffalo, that's when America was great. When there was billions of passenger pigeons that traversed the sky until it darkened for day after day after day. When there were so many more trees on our land, where there were fish everywhere, and you could drink the water. When you could dig down a little bit, get some water for your animal, the spring would fill. That's when the earth was made. And we are not people who suffer from ecological amnesia. We don't forget. You know, some people in this country, they forgot what it was like when you could drink the water there, or when there were some trees there. Or maybe when the mountain was there. They forgot that. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. We're not going to forget that. We don't want to be the people that forget those things. We want to be the people that live that. So that's what this is about. It's about our ability to live and our ability to have a covenant with the Creator. To keep that covenant and its ability for our generations ahead. So I'll tell you a little story. My community, northern Minnesota, we don't have any oil. We kind of live in peace, got a lot of wildlife, so cool. We like our life. One day, a company called Enbridge announced they want to throw a pipeline across right by our largest wild ice lake. Mother load of wild ice, the only place in the world that grows. It's our territory. It's our sacred food. And they said they want to throw a 640,000 barrel per day pipeline carrying fracked oil from North Dakota and Bakken oil fields. They want to throw it across our territory. I have no idea about pipelines. Be honest with you, I'm not actually opposed to pipelines. I really like water and sewer. I think those are cool. I just don't like dirty rough pipelines. You know, it's not the pipeline's problem, it's what's in it. Who it's serving, right? So we organized ourselves. It wasn't just the Native people, it was all the non-Native people too. You know, all our neighbors went out, we worked together. We said it's not a good idea. We challenged the company, single largest pipeline company in North America, Enbridge, Canadian Corporation, challenged them 4 years, ceremonies, rode our horses, intervened in the regulatory process. I agree, the system does not work. We tried everything. Court case, court ruled that they had to do an environmental impact statement, the Enbridge company. We battled for 4 years ago, it cost them $600 million. Then one day, August 2nd of last year, they announced that they were going to withdraw all of their requests, all of their permit applications for that project. And then they announced that they were going to go and purchase 28% of Dakota Access Pipeline. So we followed up there. We said it is not good for us, and it's not good for these people either. And so my family went out there, my organization went out there. I went out there some, nowhere near the amount of time that a lot of these water protectors spent out there. And I'm very grateful to the water protectors and their courage. Their courage. I had horses out there, my family had a teepee out there, my sister stayed out there most of the time. My animals were out there, children were out there. You know, we stood with those people. And y'all know what it looked like. Go through some of these pictures. That's when they put the dogs on us. That's when they sprayed their people in the river. That's when they brought up the M-round. You know, that's what happens, and that's what's happening all over this country. They're really busy surplusing military equipment to police departments. And when you surplus military equipment to police departments end up with things that they shouldn't use on people. Like an M-round. Mine-resistant armored personnel carrier. To the best of my knowledge, there are no landmines in North Dakota that would require an M-round. Right? So, you know, this is what it looked like there when our people were leaving. That was good, and that's when our people left. I was not there that day. I was with LaDonna Allen from Sacred Stone Camp the day that they Chetty Camp was We're forced out of there. I wrote a story about that because they accused our people of leaving a lot of garbage there. I wrote the story, I called it The Filth of North Dakota. Because, you know, there are a lot of people out there and they force us to try to move out during the middle of winter. There's a lot of duress. They had the road blocked. They made it difficult. A lot of blizzards. A lot of people probably wouldn't want to let their stuff there, but we tried really hard to get things out of there. We tried hard. You know? And then they bulldozed the rest of it and they threw away, I heard, about 10,000 pounds of food that people could eat. In those communities that never had nothing, you know, didn't have enough food. But just to be spiteful, they did that too. And I feel like that, you know, we call North Dakota the Deep North. That's what we call it. The Mississippi of the North. And I think that anybody that watched what was going on out there saw that happen. What happened out there, you know, was wrong. It's not the first time this happened. It's been going on for a long time out there because no one paid attention to North Dakota. So oil companies came to run that state. They run it, they own it. And Native people are treated like third-class citizens out there. But nobody saw that until this time. And so, you know, we'd like some justice. I like justice for Standing Rock. I like justice for our people. You know what's so wrong about that? There's a lot of things that's wrong about that, but there was no need for that pipeline. It's all about greed, it's all about hate. That's what it's about. That's just why I say, you know, I don't want to get all geeky. I'm going to give you this short lecture, but just put it this way. Average fracking well lasts 4 years. 5 years tops, because it's the bottom of the barrel and it's extreme extraction, like everything they're doing now in this country. Just like that copper mine here. We have a copper mine in coastal northern Minnesota at 0.072% more. Means 1 million tons of waste for a ton of ore. That's what you call the bottom of the barrel. You know what I'm saying? That's like scraping the bottom. Same thing here. Scraping the bottom. But that's what they're doing up in North Dakota. They're scraping the bottom and blowing it up and taking that oil out. But a couple of years ago, the Bakken busted. It busted. Average well lasts about 5 years, and there's an 85% drop in drilling rigs in the Bakken. 85%. The boom is busted. 13,000 people are laid off. Man camps are empty. Right now, there's 900,000 barrels a day of oil coming out of the Bakken, 900,000 barrels of toxic oil coming out of the Bakken. And in 2019, they predict that there's going to be 900,000 barrels of oil coming out of the Bakken. There's no boom in production. Why am I telling you this? The point is that where do you get the oil for a 570,000 barrel a day pipeline? This year, 2019, the same amount of oil. I don't know how they're going to fill that line. That line was not about need, it was about greed. That's what this is all about. It's all about greed. It's all about hate. And so to me, what justice looks like is pretty simple. If you took the $3.9 billion that they spent on the Dallas pipeline, you could get 62,000 photovoltaic units for the houses in North Dakota or elsewhere. 5 kilowatts each, and 323 2-megawatt wind turbines. And 160,000 solar heaters. Like, what's this all about? Energy? You want to spend $3.9 billion on a piece of pipe that nobody wants, or you want to have energy self-sufficiency for people. That's what justice is like. You know, justice is like the people of Standing Rock don't have a 50-year-old clinic. They get a new clinic. Justice for Standing Rock looks like their road 1806 has a shoulder on it. Justice for Standing Rock looks to me like They have adequate housing. Justice for standing up looks like not every Indian goes to jail. So this next week I'm going back to Bismarck, back to Morton County, back to Maricopa for trials. 750 people were charged. 750 people were charged in North Dakota. That's a lot of people. So I'm going to go back and see what those trials look like, because the National Jury Project came out and they did a little survey of Bismarck. They said the jury pool, they surveyed the jury pool, they said that they were, that 82% of the potential jurors felt that the water protectors were guilty. Did I tell you that we call it the Deep North? So what I want to say is this. If you have people who were arrested, or if you know people who were arrested, or some of your groups or church groups or whatever can join, we're asking you to make some freedom rider trips to North Dakota. I think people should go to those courts and sit there and watch those juries, watch those judges deliberate, and say, we're going to hold you accountable for justice, North Dakota. We're going to hold you accountable for justice. Because this is a trial, this is about the trial of the rights of corporations versus the rights of people. That's what this is about. And this is not just about Standing Rock and the Dakota Access Pipeline, this is about where is America going. If the rights of corporations continue to supersede the rights of people, we will not survive, nor will our water, nor will our relatives, whether they have wings or fins or roots or paws, they will not survive. And so we have to stand. We have to summon up our courage like those water protectors did. And we have to continue to be those people. And how I know that's all going to work out for us is a few things. I'm a grandmother. I'm going to go with about 10 kids who call me grandma. Sometimes there's more. A lot of kids in my community need a grandma. Because a lot of the other Indian women here know that our life expectancy is not very long. And so I've lost a lot of women in my age group already. A lot of them no longer have grandmothers. So one day I was sitting there writing at my little old kitchen table, trying to be all smart on my computer. I was just busy writing away. And my grandson says, look, Gray, look, Gray. And I look up. And there's 3 grandsons. One has on my Dow helmet, which is a snowmobile helmet with stickers on it, including a really cool red hand from the Left Hand Brewery in Longmont, Colorado. It's a red hand that looks cool. And one has on a gas mask. And the third has on a bandana. And they all have something in their hand that they are holding. And they say, look, Granny, we're the water protectors. What I'm saying is just like, that's how I know. There's a whole bunch of people that are very courageous. Because I know a whole bunch of them that are 10 years old. Those are water protectors. So let us nurture them. Let us nourish them. Let us feed their spirits. Right? Let us care for them. Let us care for each other. It's been a long haul. It's already been a long haul for us. But we have a good life the Creator gave us. We have a good life the Creator gave us here. And they have no right to interrupt that life. They have no right to take our lives. They have no right to take our land. They have no right to take our water. They have no right to take our future. In our community, Enbridge came back and announced another pipeline we was expecting. My first meeting with them early in the year, I said, I was at this meeting and it's kind of a small venue, but I said, look, someone asked me to say something. I said, I got a question for you, Enbridge. These are coming back on the side. These guys are kind of like Mormons or something. Excuse me, but they all wear like little white shirts and khakis. And I said, hey, Enbridge. I said, a lot of us here packed. They were having a little gathering. They thought it would be for a few white landowners, but there was about 100 Indians there. And a bunch of white people. And a lot of those people had been in North Dakota, and I said, look, Enbridge, I got a question to ask you. I said, hey, what you gonna do here? I said, this is in Morton County. No tanks, no bullets, no pipelines. I said, we saw you out there. I asked you to stop. I wrote letters. I texted them, called them. I was a certain person I talked to. She called them the Indian listener. It's kind of like a dysfunctional relationship. I texted her, called her, she responded. I said, I asked you to demilitarize that. I asked you to pull up the dogs. I wrote you a letter. I asked you to ask for EMS. I asked you to pull the tanks. You had 28% interest in that pipeline. You could have stopped that. You could have stopped our people from getting hurt in Enbridge. You didn't do that. So I told them at this meeting, I said, so I'm going to hold you responsible for 28% of the injuries. I'm going to hold you responsible for 28% of the bullets, Enbridge. I'm going to hold you responsible for 28% of the tanks. Right? Don't forget anything. You need to do that to us. So I started working on that this afternoon. We're in a big battle at home. But it was long haul. I know we're going to beat these guys for a few reasons, aside from the fact that I have a fabulous collection of water protectors who live with me. I know that this is the end of that fossil fuel era. I hope not everyone else scrap they think they can get. But even Rex Tillerson don't got no game. He lost most of his company's assets between $40 million and $3.8 million in 5 years. $3.8 billion in net assets. He lost a whole bunch of money. And they're trying to hang on at the end of this era. The investment movement's growing. Not just the doubtful investment movement, but the investment movement in fossil fuels. Shell pulled up the tar sands an $8 billion project about 2 weeks ago. The president, I call him predator in chief, has been willy-nilly approving pipelines that there's not even oil for. Build it, you will come just like that damn wall, huh? Build it, just go build it. What I want to see is that instead of building $30, $40 billion worth of pipelines for oil companies, what if we put $30 or $40 billion into infrastructure that made sense in this country? I gotta say, it looks like you got enough roads. I don't know why you need another road. What's that, a 6-lane highway I drove here? I never seen such a big highway in my whole life. I was like terrifying just to be on the road here. That's like crazy car culture, huh? We need to move towards that other path. Why don't you flip my head? There's my sister. She's scarier than me. No, that's not my sister. See? And the gayest common Virginia women right there. She's 6'2". That's what I say. Is, when they say talk about 7th generation from now, people were taken care of 4 generations from now. 4 generations from now, if they get their way, those people will not be able to live. That's pretty much it. So it's our shot. It's our responsibility to take these things up and to do this work. But I know all their stuff has kind of come to an end for a few reasons. One of them is because I was reading this with my Harvard magazine, and then they have a story about Mara Prentice. She's the physics professor at Harvard, and she's a super smart lady. But anyway, she has a little story. In that story, she says, fossil fuel era is coming to an end because the vehicle that y'all drove here in, combustion engine is 16% efficient. 16% efficient. So what kind of stupid society would drive around in a car that's 16% efficient? An electric cars, you know how efficient that is? 65% efficient. So it's time to quit doing dumb stuff. It's time to move to local food. Time to go solar. Time to take care of our water. Time to take care of the land that we live on. Time to quit moving around. You know, I don't know, most people here look like they've been here a long time. A lot of people move out here to Arizona. I'm like, just stay put then. Quit trying to find a new frontier. There's no place else to go. Be a patriot to the land, not to a flag. Be a patriot to the land, take care of it. And keep your courage up. That's cool stuff. That's my community, though. That's what I work for. That's our ricers. And go a couple more. That's my cord I grow on the right. Grow cool cord. Don't waste energy. Go renewable. Divest. Y'all get that message? Yeah. Okay. This is my community. Go back one. They did a film on it last year called The Seventh Fire. Our village of Pine Point. It's a community that nothing ever trickled down to. And kind of tough film. So we looked at that film, we didn't like it, so we decided to change our village. Instead of our tagged up village, that's what we did to our tagged up garage. Next one here, a solar at my house. Next one, solar thermal forest community on my reservation. That's what we did. Next one, painted that house too, huh? That cool? Next one, that's our water tower. Next one, that's what our future is. That's our solar grids, microgrid. That's our plan. That's Winona LaDuke's plan. That's her solar for her village. Little guitar sounds. I just want to say, look, you know, there's a way, there's two paths. I know what path we're taking in my community. I think y'all got your eye on the same path. Gotta stay strong, gotta stay committed, gotta work together. City boy said, let's put our minds together to see what kind of future we make for our children. You know, and as last couple of years, had a lot of privilege. A couple of years ago, I rode my horse out in Washington, D.C. with the Cowboys and Indians, like the Keystone Pipeline. Right after go do that again. Me and my sister, we rode our horses. And at the end of our ride, we ended up at our TV on the Washington Mall. That sounds cool, huh? We're hanging out on our TVs on the Washington Mall. We felt very cool. My kids were on my TV, and then cool people were on our TV, like Neil Young was on our TV, and Daryl Hannah was on our TV. So I have two 15-year-old boys that was in my TV, and they were feeling cool. But anyway, I'm sitting on my TV, and this one white guy sticks his head in the TV, and he says, Miss LaDuke, would you like to go for a ride in my car? And I looked at him and I said, like, that's such a crazy pickup line, and I'm thinking this, you know, like, that's like 80s or something, right? Like, why would I want to go for a ride in your car? I don't even know you. That's what I'm thinking in my voice. I go, no, Mom, you don't want to go for a ride in that guy's car, right? And this guy is like, looks at me and says, it's a Tesla. And I was like, yes, I want to go for a ride in your car. So the point of this is that basically that's what I want to do. I want to walk out of my TV, as I did that one day into a land before North Tesla. And that's a kilowatt too, at some level. We're going to be on horses, we're going to be walking, we're going to be riding bikes, we're going to get Tesla. No second-rate stuff. We want the good technology. No pretending. We got the chance to do this. And more than once again, you know, the time is now. We'll leave you with one last quote. my friend, my nephew, Nick Tilson, at Benedictine Community Development Corporation. I was reading their annual report a couple years ago, and I had seen this quote in there, and I called him up. I said, Nick, can I use that quote? And he said, yeah, Auntie, but let me tell you where it come from. That's what he told me. I'll tell you the quote. He said, there's a bunch of us at Walla men. We were outside in our sweat, getting ready to go in. And we were kind of talking smack. So he said, we were kind of talking smack. It was like, this group, tribal council didn't do this person didn't do that, Just talking like that. I just say that because I think every Indian person here knows that sometimes Indians talk smack. But get ready to go in their sweat lodge, right? They go in, they go in that lodge, and they said, so he said, the spirit came into the lodge, and the spirit says. So that's the quote. So that's where the quote came from. The spirit said. They said that spirit said, how long are you going to let others determine the future for your children? Are we not warriors? When our ancestors went into battle, they did not know what the consequences were going to be. All they knew is that if they did nothing, things would not go well for their children. Do not operate out of a place of fear. Operate out of a place of hope. Because with hope, everything is possible. Time is now, movement's here. We wish you.